Hi, this is Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today with my week of reading review. This is where I talk about the week that I've had of reading, what I've completed, what I have on deck and currently in progress, and then also what I could be reading if the mood so strikes me. So it's kind of a pre-TBR potentially. Anyway, let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was I finished the second in the Perveen Mistry series, Mistry being her last name. And this is a really fantastic series, historical mysteries set in 1920s Bombay. So it's still during colonialism. I usually have a little side eye to those kinds of stories. The romanticism of colonial times, I think, is pretty gross. So I tend to avoid those unless there's something else at play underneath there. This is a fantastic series that kind of takes all of the elements of that environment, but in a really purposeful way. It's a very feminist read, but engaging and delightful at the same time. The main character, Perveen Mistry, is a fantastic character because she sits on the outside of society in multiple different ways, but ways that she uses to her benefit. So she is separated. She had a love marriage where she ran away with this man and married him, and ended up leaving because he was too controlling and there was too much dominance in the household, and her expectations of how she was supposed to live her future were not in line with agreements that she had made and what she thought that she was capable of. She did not want to live in isolation. So this is a secret that she carries, because if it was found out that she was divorced, she would be ostracized from society entirely. And then the second way that she's different is that she went and studied at Oxford. After the marriage crumbled, she ran away, went to Oxford, and got a law degree. And so she's back and she understands British law, but because of her gender, she is unable to practice the law. In other words, she can do the paperwork, she can do all that good stuff, but she can't actually sit in a courtroom and to do the types of law that she would want to do. But she is able to consult as a lawyer on different cases. And so this has, because of the way that the society works and what the author Sujata Massey has done, is she's been able to introduce all of the ways that Bombay society is so cultural. She is Zoroastrian, and I didn't know a lot about the Zoroastrian religion, and so there's little bits that come through that. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But she interfaces with many Muslim families, and specifically because there is a group of Muslim society, a sect of Muslim women at the time that live in isolation within their homes. So they're only seen by their boy children or their husbands, and otherwise they're set aside. And there's screens that take over the house and separate the home. And this was featured very, very prominently in the first book that she did, which I highly recommend, The Widows of Malabar Hill. So what I love is the investigations that she gets involved with have really interesting implications for the women involved in it, and cultural implications, and so you're just reading a really great historical mystery, but there's all these other layers to it. So I can't more highly recommend this series. This is the second one. The pace was a little slower, and there was an introduction of a potential love opportunity, maybe. So we'll see what happens with that. I know that there's some people who just wanted her to talk to the women and solve the mysteries and not get involved with all that stuff. But she's a woman. She has needs too. Anyway, so that was great. I really liked it. I highly recommend it. The second one I finished was The First Man in Rome, and this is Colleen McCullough series. She previously wrote The Thornbirds, I found out. And this was a really stepped up version of the types of historical mysteries I was reading before. And this is all in anticipation of my holiday in Italy that's coming up. So this is a really great historical mystery. I think the details were much more historically accurate, and this felt like the sense of tone and place was a little more authentic. So I recommend that one as well. Next up is A Pan for Me. I read it all the way through and was really disappointed with the ending. This was The Lost for Words Bookshop by Stephanie Butland. So the story started really well. A woman who works at a bookstore with a caring but curmudgeon boss. She has clearly been damaged in the past and has very strong boundaries that she tries to set up. And this starts to unravel as to why. It starts to become clear as to why she has these challenges and why she puts herself is so off-putting. So you have multiple timelines, kind of looking into the past and situations that she's gone through. You have a man who's kind of hanging out at the bookstore and bothering her that feels a little ominous. And then you have another man who she's might be interested in, and she's kind of testing that, but he's interested in her and is pursuing her. So I was really in the mood for something light and something that I didn't have to spend a lot of time with. I've been reading a lot of heavy material or deeply thoughtful material, and I just wanted something a little more cozy and comforting. But I did like some of the discussions of mental abuse and domestic violence, and the way that it unveiled itself through the narrative structure here. But the ending could not figure out when it was supposed to end. I swear there must have been 4 different parts where I thought, okay, here's the ending. And no, it kept going. And then it kept going. And then it kept going. And so I will say that if an author can't stick the landing, it does throw me off, and I will give it a lesser rating for that. Because to me, I need to understand that the body of the work is completed, and it just felt like this kept going on and on. So I did Pan, and I gave it a 2 on Goodreads, and unfortunate. But right after that, I read a great book, and that was Spring by Ali Smith. So this is the 3rd of her series quartet. Her seasons quartet, and what she's doing in these is really taking a look at contemporary situations through the lens of narrative. So she's talking about the immigration situation with Brexit and immigrant struggle, told in ways that are pretty overt. So one of the main characters is a security guard in an immigration detention center. So, nothing subtle about that. However, what I love about Ali Smith is, she may have those signposts that kind of help you remember what type of novel you're in and what the purpose is. There's also this kind of shimmery undercurrent that happens where that there is symbolism and there's a lot of depth there, should you want to read into that and should you want to follow that trail. But you don't have to. That's kind of what I love about her, is that you can read her to the depth which you're most comfortable. But I could see that this would be something that you could return to over and over again and see new things and read new opportunities and new perspectives. So I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I gave it a 4. Next up, I read a continuation from my Aussie April. It's still giving me love and joy. And there was a brand new release from Dervla McTiernan, and this is called The Scholar. So this is the 2nd in the Cormac Reilly series that I started in April. And I just really like this. If you are a fan of Tana French, it's set in Ireland, it's police procedural, good characters, really interesting plotting and pacing, I think you might like this. It's not as literary, I would think, that Tana French really leans into that, but this was really strongly placed Irish police procedural that I enjoyed very much, and I'll follow this series absolutely. The next up. So I completed Normal People. So I'm very excited about this. There's a ton of tabs, as you can maybe see there. So this is going to be part of my work book club. I lead a women's network book club, and so we'll be talking about this next week. So it's Normal People by Sally Rooney. This was longlisted for, I think it was in the Man Booker, and then it was also longlisted for the Women's Prize. What I respect about this book and what I liked about it is how it was emotional without being sentimental. It is the story of two main characters that you follow from their childhood, kind of maybe middle school years, through to the first few years out of college. And they have a bond, and it's a bond that they don't know how to break and they don't know how to deepen. What I liked about this is each character develops and grows, and there's just a lot. There's a lot here. It's not. It would be easy to dismiss this book as a simplistic, oh, your coming of age story. And I think if this is not something that you're interested, if you're not interested in young love and the trials and tribulations and characters and what's that, builds romance stories, as people come into their own, then this may not be for you. But I think this is her voice. Sally Rooney's voice is a fresh take on old themes. These themes are not new, but her approach is a little different and it feels fresh. There is a lot here to discuss. There's a lot of depth, like I said here. So I liked it a lot. I gave it a 4 stars, and it might be my favorite of the 3 I've read of hers. I've read Conversations with Friends as well as her small short story, Mr. Salary. But this resonated with me, and I have had those relationships in the past where that person is so connected to you, you don't know how to go deeper or how to let go. And you're at that point in your life where everything is up for grabs, and so holding on to some things become very important. And that's what resonated for me with Normal People. So I liked it. Oh, but now let me go to one that, Sean, the Book Maniac, may be happy that I am finally announcing my first fail since I've joined BookTube about 2 months ago now, maybe. So this is Melmoth, and I'm really sad about it because I was looking forward to it. This is from Sarah Perry. Her last book was The Essex Serpent. I tongue twist over that every damn time. That book I did enjoy. This one, I think it was a case of wanting to like it. So I was in it for 35% of the book. I decided to do audiobooks so I could make more traction. Because work and commute and all of that. The language is really, really interesting. It's very flowery. It's very gothic. It's very atmospheric. I mean, the thing that she's doing best in here is atmosphere, by far. What is lacking for me was plot. There's also multiple characters. I couldn't keep all the timelines together, and I just didn't feel a compulsion to come back, and I didn't have that curiosity that I needed to keep in with when the material was so dense and the language was so flowery and so potentially overwrought. I'm going to put this down. I may come back to it. I could see this being possibly an October read. Maybe I'll come back to, but chances are good this one might be just for me. So that was what I read. Now let's talk about what I'm still reading. Okay, so I need to kick out the jams on this. So this is Adrienne Rich's Essential Essays. I have not spent enough time with this, but I'm just going to be honest here. I'm a really slow nonfiction reader. Now, if it's nonfiction that's like in memoir form or that has a strong narrative sense, like Eric Larson's work, Devil in the White City, things like that, I can move very quickly through those. But something like this is just much harder for me to because I want to take it in, I want to understand it, process it, move forward. So apologies that you might be seeing this for a while. Next up, I'm continuing in La Bella Lingua, My Love Affair with Italian, the world's most enchanting language. That's by Dianne Hales. Really enjoying it. Fun, light romp at looking at what's happening as a woman is trying to learn Italian. Then I am only about 2 pages into Florida by Lauren Groff. So we're reading we've switched from Man Booker into the National Book Award series from my book club. And so we've hit Florida by Groff. This is short stories. I'm interested in doing this. I'm going to try to spend some significant time this weekend doubling down on that one. But I think that's going to help me for the most exciting thing that's happening in June, which is the Reading Women Month. And so I put an entire video of suggestions, so I'll link to that below. But really excited because reading women is kind of a thing. So really excited to just double down and most importantly, read through a lot of my TBR that I physically have here in the house that I need to get through. Then I'm also reading The Quincunx by Charles Palliser. This is a chunkster of a doorstop of a book, but I don't want to say too much because I'm doing a buddy read. This is the start of my buddy read season, so very excited for that. So I don't want to spoil and give anything out here where I should be talking to my buddy. So let me just say that this is a Dickensian Victorian novel. Amazing cast of characters already, really intricacies in the plotting, and you can tell the structure has been really refined and put together well. So that is The Quincunx, I say no more. And then I have another buddy read that's imminent, and that is The Leopard by Giuseppe di Lampedusa. Really excited to start this because I think this might be the last book I read into my holiday in Italy. So looking forward to her getting her copy so we can start. So that's what I know is on deck for sure. And then Mood Reading Roulette. So this is, if I finish something, what am I going to grab? So I think here's some options that I'm looking at. The first is The Professor's House by Willa Cather. So I've been reading some pretty heavy, intricate work lately, and I'd like to have something a little lighter that isn't so light. I'd like something calmer, let me put it that way. So I think this might do the trick. This is a Willa Cather, and she's known for serene but beautiful prose, so I'm looking forward to that. Then I have Human Acts, which I'm still interested in. I just haven't haven't grabbed for it if I had the opportunity. This is from Han Kang, and this would work for the Reading Women. And then Lanny from Max Porter just came out, and it's available in my library, my holds. So might jump on that. I'm very interested in his work. Another third one option is The Binding by Bridget Collins. I know very little about this. I just know books, potential bookshop, magic, witches. I think that's what I heard. So, okay, let's see. So I might be in the mood for that. And then the last thing that just came up in my holds on from the library is One Good Turn by Kate Atkinson. So this is the second in the Jackson Brodie series. She has a new one that's coming out. I think it's later on this summer, maybe even next month. I think it's coming up soon. So I'd like to catch up so that I could read that fresh. So that's a lot. So thanks for sticking around with me. And hope you had a really great end of your Asian Readathon month this month. Get ready for Reading Women Month next month if you're participating. And that's it. Thank you so much, and look forward to talking to you later. Bye.